Today we're going to be talking about some of the best wide receiver press releases that you can do and drills to work on each one. So the first release we're going to be going over is something called a split release. So we're going to talk about the mechanics of the split release, we're going to talk about the exact situation to use it in, and then like I said, we're going to get in a drill to work on this specific release. So what is a split release? So a split release, you're in your stance. Let's say the quarterback is lined up to my left foot is up. A split release is exactly how it sounds. What you're going to do is you're going to take your back foot and move it up. You're going to move it straight up. You're not going to move it wide. That's a mistake that a lot of guys will make on this release, and I'll talk about that. But you're moving your back foot straight up and your front foot goes out. So you're essentially coming to balance and your feet want to land just slightly outside of your shoulders. Now, when you're in this balanced position, the great part about the split release, and this is why I wanted to start the video with the split, is you could go inside or you could go outside because you are in a position of balance. Now, when I do this release, two mistakes that guys will make. One, they will go way too wide. This is not an explosive and balanced position. You want to be just slightly outside your shoulders. Now, you don't want to overkill it and be like this, because if you're inside your shoulder frame, it's very hard for us to push and drive out. My feet might cross over, and it's very easy for me to get jammed from this specific spot. So you want to be just even with your shoulders like so. Now, when do we want to use this? You want to use this type of release when a DB is in head up press, inside shade press, or outside shade press right up on the line, because we don't have much room to operate, right? If a DB is maybe 2 yards away, yeah, we want to close the space with him and give him a move. But if he's right up on the line of scrimmage, not giving me any room to breathe, I got to make him miss almost laterally. So that's why you want to use this release in any of those situations. If he's inside shade, I can do a split, little fake inside, take the outside. He's outside shade, I could split, do a fake outside. Or if he's head up, I could just react. I do a split, I'm reading him. If he freezes, I could just pick a side and go. If he shades to one side, I could release the opposite. So split release is great for a reaction. It's great to set up a DB anytime he's right up in your face. So I'm going to show you a full speed drill on how this should work. Now, before we get into a drill for the split release, you guys, if you're a wide receiver and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we're going to be coming out to 15 different cities across the U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So we're going to be coming out to Miami, Florida next. Then we'll be heading out to Las Vegas, Nevada, Charlotte, North Carolina, Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Chicago, Illinois, Buffalo, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, Boise, Idaho, and Los Angeles, California. So again, if you guys would like to train with us, check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get back to this drill. Now, the drill for the split release that we're going to be working on is going to help us restack and get skinny with the DB after a split release, which is super important to do. So you got a line of scrimmage cone, which is going to be this yellow cone, and you need 3 separate cones that are set up in kind of like a half C pattern, if you will. And then you need a towel, and you're going to put this towel even with the widest cone. So we're treating this like I got my quarterback to the left, my left foot is up, and you're going to be working just a simple split release. And what we're doing is we're going to pick up the towel with my left hand, acting as if I am dipping my shoulder to get skinny into a DB. A common mistake, the reason why we do this drill, a common mistake that wide receivers will make on the split release is they'll do this split, they might freeze the DB, and then they run away from the DB, right? Maybe because they're tall, maybe because the DB's physical. But if I'm taking an outside release and that DB's inside shade or shades to the inside and I keep running wide, that's cutting down the field space that I have, especially if I'm running an outside breaking route or a fade route. I got to go hip to hip with that DB to get into him, to either put myself in a position where I'm right next to him, so maybe I could lean and break, maybe I could throw by and slip under, or I get hip to hip with him so I could stack him, and then I have a two-way go. I go outside, I go inside, but it starts with the shoulder dip. So that's what this drill is working on. So again, you're going to come to balance with the split. Front foot goes out, back foot goes up. We're pushing, dipping that shoulder, and scooping up the towel on the move. I'm going to show you how this drill should look full speed. The next release we're going to be talking about is something called a double up release. So a double up release, I wanted to show this one second because it could be for an inside release or it could be for an outside release. So let's start with the outside release. Let's just keep it simple. Let's say I'm running a fade route, right? And so let's say, for example, I got a DB who is lined up maybe 2 yards away from me or a yard away from me, and he's inside shade, right? DB's goal when he is inside shade is to prevent the inside route. He's taught to keep his leverage, protect his leverage, right? When he's lined up to the inside, he has inside leverage leverage on me or inside shade. So, for example, I don't want, if I just have to run a fade route, just take off and go run, because his job is to protect the inside, don't give it up, but his job is also to force me to the sideline, so I don't have any room to be faded out or to run my outside breaking route. Protect the leverage, force me to his help, and his help is the sideline. So the best way to get a DB to move, best way to create separation off the line, make him think you're running where he doesn't want you to go, and he doesn't want me to run to the inside right now. So a great release to use is this double up. So a double up, you want to step in the direction you are going to release to first. So I want to go to the outside, I want to step outside first, fake back to the inside. So the first step on this is a quick, shortened step. It is just a quick step inside your frame. You don't want to step super wide, because if you step super wide, your second cut isn't going to be as explosive. Keep it inside your frame. So it's 1-2. I'm attacking the DB, trying to threaten his leverage so I get more space to the outside. And again, just like the split release, we want to go hip to hip and get skinny with him. Now, let's talk about the opposite. Let's say he's outside shade. Why would a DB ever play outside shade? He's got safety help to the inside. Don't give up the outside route. So what I could do is I could do the opposite. I could go in, out, fake like I'm going to the outside, get him to move, get skinny, and stay tight to him and go. So that's that double up release. You want to use it when a DB's inside shade, outside shade. Guess you could use it when he's head up, but I like it against inside or outside shade press. So I'm going to show you a great drill to work on this release. Now, sometimes the best way to work on a press release is to work specific drills that put you in the right position or the right mechanical position on that specific release. So that's what this drill is going to be covering on a double up. So this double up release is great because you could use it when a DB is maybe a yard away. You could also use it when he's 2 yards away. But when that DB is 1 to 2 yards away, the mistake a lot of receivers make is they don't attack vertically. Let me explain. So let's say I'm lined up right here. Orange cone is my line of scrimmage. Let's say this darker shade of orange cone is where the DB is. That's about 2 yards away, right? So if I'm trying to attack his leverage, it's more than me just stepping to the inside, because you see how much space I have from me in the cone. That's a mistake a lot of receivers make, because when I have this space, let's say I get him to jump, but let's say I got to go run a fade route. I still got to get upfield, and because there's so much space between me and him, he could cut me off to that break point and then still get into my hip and squeeze me to the sideline. So with my double up, sometimes you have to step more vertical to close that space with the DB. And we're going to give you some other releases to work on closing the space as this video goes on. But how this drill is going to go, you got to step to each cone. So the first cone is a little bit closer, second cone is a little bit further. Left foot's up, quarterback's to my left, set, go. We're coming out. 1, it's a short step, push. We got to make sure that we are stepping at a 45 vertical angle, and then we're bursting off, getting skinny up into this fade. So it's a simple drill, but sometimes the best way to work a press release is to actually work the steps of the release. So I'm going to show you how this drill is going to look full speed. So this next release that we're going to be going over today is something called a diamond release. So a diamond release is something I think all wide receivers should have in their tool belt for when they have to run a slant route or a 5-yard in versus an inside shade press coverage DB. So this is a common thing, right? So we talked about it. Let's say I got an inside shade guy and I have to go run like a post route, for example. We'll come back to the slant, but let's say it's a post at like 10 to 12 yards and I have inside shade press. His goal is don't give up the inside, right? So I can't fake outside, go in, because he's not going to give up that leverage. He'll get hands, he'll force me to the inside and screw up spacing of the play, but him getting hands will also affect timing with the quarterback. That's the whole reason the DBs jam in the first place. So you would want to attack his leverage inside. Maybe we use that double up and take the outside release. Take what he gives me. I get skinny to where maybe I could stack him, or he's right on my hip and I could slip under and throw by. That's what we do if the route was deeper. Now, what if we have to actually run the route and the DB is sitting right at the break point? I got to run a 3-step slant. He's maybe 2 yards off inside shade. He's sitting right there. What should I do? That is when you would use a diamond release. So a diamond release is where you attack the DB's outside shoulder and outside hip, almost at a 45-degree angle, like you guys have probably seen like a baseball diamond, how from home plate to first base, it's a 45-degree. That's essentially how you want to think of this, but you're going right at his outside shoulder and hip for 3 hard steps. So set, go, we come off, we go 1, we go 2, we go 3, and then we put the brakes on the 3rd step. And hopefully, because we attacked his outside shoulder and hip, he's right next to me. And when he's right next to me, I can use my inside hand to swat, slip under, throw by, and run my slant route and still get separation. The mistake a lot of guys will do is that they have this slant inside shade, they panic and they just try to run. Hands on, rerouted, not a good situation for us to be in. So this diamond release is a great way to get separation on a slant versus inside shade press. We're of course going to show you a drill for this in a second to fine tune the details of this, but when we do these 3 steps, we got to make sure that we self-fade. I cannot take 3 steps and be super choppy. DB's not going to bite. He's just going to sit there. I can't take 3 steps and be super wide. Even if I get him to commit, there's still too big of a gap. gap, I cut under and he'll be right there. And I gotta make sure that I'm actually running hard. If we're going slow and telegraphing this move, DB is gonna sit. We wanna get him to open up the gate, and how we do that is with long strides, eyes, shoulders, and hips committed outside, and running in full speed. I'm gonna show you a great drill for this release. Now, when it comes to getting separation as a wide receiver, having speed and explosiveness and quickness off the ball is something that's gonna help you create tons of separation. You need to have that as a wide receiver because all this stuff may not work if you don't have those specific traits. So how can you work on that stuff? You need to be doing the correct things in the gym as a wide receiver to increase your fast twitch muscle fibers, to increase your explosion, your quickness and speed off the ball. All of those things can be worked on. So if you guys would like a 4-month-long wide receiver gym-specific workout plan that you can follow, check out that second link in the description below. We label all the exercises you should do, like, hey, Monday, you should be doing this, this, and this. For this amount of sets, this amount of reps, take this amount of rest in between, and we give you examples of each gym exercise. So again, guys, 4-month-long wide receiver gym workout schedule. Check out that second link in the description below. That's where you can get all the info. Let's get back to this drill. Now, this drill for the diamond release is gonna help us cut at a sharper angle so we don't drift into a DB that we get with this specific release. This is a common mistake that guys will make. So what you need is you need a start point, like a line of scrimmage point, green cone, acting as if the quarterback's to the left, and then you need 3 cones about 5 yards away from you. 3 cones set up at a 45-degree angle that we have to cut under on this diamond release. So let's say I line up here. Let's say I get this DB to overcommit. 1, 2, 3, I break, I got his hips to flip. What am I supposed to do? Slip under him, right? But a lot of guys, because they don't have the sharpness of this cut, they will try to slip under and they will drift upfield. And when you drift, a DB in this situation, what is he taught to do? He's taught to speed turn. So if you're drifting into him, you're drifting right into coverage. So this drill forces us to have to stay tight, go at a sharp 45-degree angle so we can keep that separation that we got with my release. So all we're gonna be doing, we are attacking this bottom cone that's at a 45-degree angle, 1, 2, 3, cut, ripping my arms and staying tight underneath this thing. A good coaching tip or coaching trigger, I guess you could say, for this is when you hit this third step, you take your left arm or your inside arm, pretend there's somebody you don't like behind you, and you're trying to elbow them. Because if you elbow them, that will flip your hips out and get you back more on that 45-degree angle. I'm gonna show you how this drill is gonna look, full speed. All right. This next release that we're gonna be going over for wide receivers is something called a kick step crossover release. So this is a release that you wanna use when you have a DB who I would say is maybe 3 to 4 yards away from you and he is inside shade. So this release is a little bit creative, a little bit more advanced, I would say, but I'm confident that you guys can get it down because you're pretty much just adding a little extra sauce to that crossover release that we talked about second in this video. So this DB is 3 to 4 yards away. What do we have to do with that space, right? We don't wanna just give him a move and leave 2 yards of space because then when I try to release outside, he's just gonna cut off the angle. I gotta close the space. I gotta go attack his toes. I gotta bring that line of scrimmage to him, right? So what you're gonna do is your first step on this release, and you only wanna do this when he's 3 to 4 yards off because you're gonna see why. Your first step with this release is going to step behind your front foot. That's the kick step. You're going to plant, then hit him with the crossover. So it's a way to kind of throw off his eyes if he's watching your hips, number one, but also a way to close distance. And you could change up the tempo on this based on the route. So let's say we're on the goal line and I gotta run a goal line fade. I could be a little bit more patient. So I can come out, give him a move. Let's say I'm in the middle of the field and I gotta go fast. I gotta go run like a corner or something like that. I can quicken up the tempo and then go fast and get off the route and accomplish the exact same thing. So the steps, again, you step with your back foot behind your front foot, plant, crossover, out. So I'm gonna show you a great drill to work on this specific move. Now, a great drill to work on this release is breaking the release up into 2 specific parts, isolating that kick step and gather step, and then doing the full speed release all together off of it. So what you're gonna do is you need 3 specific cones. You need a line of scrimmage point, then you need a cone set up at about 3 to 4 yards at a 45-degree angle, then 3 to 4 yards at a 45-degree angle from the second cone, almost forming this like long diagonal line, right? So what you're gonna do, first cone, not actually doing the full release, we're just doing the kick step and the plant step. So you can mess with the tempo on this, you could slow it down, quicken it up if you want, but how it's gonna go, partner says set go, or you go on your own cadence, set go, we're gonna kick and just settle. Then the next drill, you're going to do the same thing, and I'm going to show you this full speed in a second. Next one, you're going to kick, plant, hit the crossover, and then go up onto your fade or whatever type of route that you are trying to work. So we isolate the kick step and the plant, then we do the full release, and we want to make the exact kick step on the second one, simulate the first kick step on the first drill without the crossover, okay, if that makes sense. So I'm going to show you how this drill is going to look, full speed.